Corporate wellness programs currently consume billions of dollars annually, yet they consistently produce exactly zero verifiable financial return. Standard mobility programs operate as passive employee benefits. They lack the empirical rigor necessary to register on an institutional balance sheet. A 10,000 employee integration model offers a different path by focusing exclusively on enterprise risk reclassification. This model moves restricted, incurred but not reported, or IBNR, healthcare reserves into accessible operating capital. IBNR refers to the funds an insurer sets aside to cover medical claims that have occurred but have not yet been submitted to the insurer. Across a 10,000 employee cohort, the target for this transition is a gross release of exactly $17 million from the enterprise insurance reserves. After accounting for all system and performance costs, the employer receives a net liquidity gain of $9.81 million. Verified mobility generates a profitable mechanism for institutional balance sheet restructuring. The financial model relies on a specific metric: the transition of an employee from an unverified risk profile to a verified active profile releases $1,700 in capital. Scaling this across a 10,000 employee cohort creates a gross capital pool of $17 million. Fixed operational costs are deducted from this pool: a one-time system setup fee of $1 million and an annual SaaS licensing fee of $750,000. Maintaining the data audit requires a verification as a service, or VAS fee. This annualized cost of $2.04 million ensures the constant inspection of the dataset. The performance fee is a 20% share of the realized capital release, amounting to $3.4 million. These deductions leave a final net liquidity gain of $9.81 million for the enterprise. Because fees are tied to realized performance, the system is completely self-funding once the initial cohort is activated. The corporate actuaries serve as the legal gatekeepers for this capital. They must authorize any reduction in risk reserves. These actuaries require empirical proof of sustained aerobic mileage that reduces morbidity risk. Standard activity tracking fails this standard because a consumer device cannot mathematically prove that a human being is actually operating it. Self-reported wellness apps are vulnerable to replay attacks, equipment spoofing, and passive transport manipulation. Every reserve release must comply with the Actuarial Standards of Practice, or ASOP. ASOP refers to the professional standards that actuaries must follow when performing actuarial services to ensure quality and consistency. ASOP guidelines mandate strict data quality and credibility procedures that reject unauthenticated proxy activity. Releasing restricted capital requires the transformation of human movement into a hardware-authenticated chain of custody. The patented VIDAT protocol was engineered specifically to meet these ASOP mandates. VIDAT stands for verification, inspection, demonstration, analysis, and testing. The protocol begins by converting each employee bicycle into a trackable institutional asset with a unique alphanumeric identifier. The verification layer establishes identity through biometric authentication and binds the rider to the registered equipment. Geolocation anchoring defines expected commute corridors to build an individualized counterfactual displaced trip profile. The inspection layer uses physical proximity enforcement to prevent equipment spoofing, verifying connections between the bicycle and the rider's gear. The demonstration layer requires proof of physical exertion through continuous GPS and motion signature analysis. Randomized mid-session prompts block replay attacks by requiring secondary authentication during the ride. The analysis layer computes outputs exclusively from these verified inputs, such as confirmed distance and route geometry. The testing layer applies redundancy cross-checks to filter out impossible speeds or missing sensor sequences. This sequential control stack produces an immutable, time-stamped audit trail. Failure at any single layer instantly invalidates the entire session dataset. This closed evidentiary loop is the mechanism that allows for the legal migration of risk reserves into working capital. A secondary value stream runs parallel to the healthcare reserve release: environmental reporting. The VIDAT ledger inherently produces audit-ready sustainability data without the need for separate measurement infrastructure. The system calculates approximately 440 grams of CO2 avoidance per displaced car mile. For the 10,000 employee cohort, the system verifies the avoidance of 8,800 metric tons of CO2 annually. This hardware-verified data aligns with Scope 3 Category 7 protocols. Scope 3, Category 7 is an accounting protocol that specifically tracks indirect greenhouse gas emissions related to employee commuting. The platform delivers sustainability as a defensible, mathematical byproduct of verified risk reduction. Institutional value derives exclusively from the verification of human activity. The Chief Financial Officer receives predictable reserve reduction and efficient capital deployment. The corporate actuary gains empirical, ASOP-compliant data that resolves risk classification uncertainty. The corporate sustainability officer acquires defensible carbon avoidance logs backed by hardware-verified trip data. Performance fees are assessed exclusively against realized capital migration, making the economic model risk-free for the employer. The financial returns reinforce and fund continued employee participation, creating a closed systemic loop. Verified human activity becomes a self-sustaining financial asset independent of external corporate subsidies, creating an economic case that requires no ongoing external funding. By integrating rigorous technical discipline with actuarial science, everyday mobility produces massive institutional liquidity.